Today's episode is the second in a two-part series of The Story Behind. The subject of these two episodes couldn't be contained into just one show. We'll be celebrating the subject's 95th birthday, which was on Tuesday, January 17th, by dedicating this week to her contribution to television, Hollywood, and her various charity work. In the previous episode, we talked about her early days in radio and television, her awards and critics, and her title as the First Lady of game shows. In this episode, we'll be talking about the role she's probably best known for, her incredible love of animals in her charity work, and her recent return to the spotlight because of a simple Snickers commercial. I'm your host, Emily Prokop, and this is the story behind Betty White, the later years. But first, a quick message. Do you have any superstitions you believe in? Come on, it doesn't have to be as obvious as not walking under a ladder or not stepping on a crack. It could be as harmless as growing a playoff beard or being a little more cautious on Friday the 13th. I'll be working on an upcoming series for March, and I'd love to hear your stories. Record a clip letting me know your superstitions, and if you're a podcaster, be sure to include the name of your show. You can email them to thestorybehindpod@gmail.com. And also forward this podcast to 10 of your friends, or bad luck will befall you. Just kidding. Or am I? In 1970, a television show came on the radar that blew the sitcom doors wide open for female-driven TV. The Mary Tyler Moore Show debuted, and a single woman was front and center, being shown juggling her personal and professional life without a man to define her. The show was a hit for CBS, and when writers decided to introduce the happy homemaker character of Sue Ann Nivens in an episode in 1973, the role called for a, quote, icky, sweet Betty White type. Who better to play a Betty White type than the lady herself? She was so loved in that episode, she became a recurring character on the show, chasing men and trading passive-aggressive quips with the other cast members, trying to place her conservative morals on them, especially on the feminist ideals of Mary. She earned 2 Emmys for her role. Because of her role on the CBS sitcom, though, she was pulled as color commentator for the Tournament of Roses parade she had been hosting for 20 years, which was sponsored by NBC, which White has said she was heartbroken over. In 1983, she made an appearance on the sitcom Mama's Family as Mama's sister, Ellen. It was there she met her future co-star, Rue McClanahan, who played another sister to Mama. When producers looked at White and McClanahan for roles in a new sitcom about older women living together in Miami, they thought of White for the role of the lusty sex kitten based on her character from the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and McClanahan for her role as the ditzy country bumpkin based on a similar role in the television show Maude, which starred another future Golden Girl, B. Arthur. Depending on the version of the story you read, White and McClanahan requested to switch roles, or the director himself, Jay Sandrich, requested their roles be reversed to avoid typecasting. I don't know about you, but I couldn't imagine it any other way. In 1985, a sitcom showed up on television introducing 4 women living together. These women broke the mold of typical sitcom stars. They weren't young, well, not young by industry standards, but that didn't stop writers from portraying these middle-aged and older women, known as the Golden Girls, as perky, feisty, and full of life. No one expected the show to take off as it did. It quickly attracted large audiences, became the highest-rated program, and over the course of its 7 seasons was nominated for 68 Emmys and won 11 of them. All 4 stars, B. Arthur, Estelle Getty, Rue McClanahan, and Betty White, all won their own respective Emmys for their roles. The creator, Susan Harris, wrote the show from a progressive angle. These mothers and grandmothers weren't shown knitting together or baking cookies. Doting on their offspring is their only means of interacting with the world. Topics on the show were as diverse as gay rights, AIDS, addiction, racism, homelessness, and disabilities. Nothing seemed off limits for the show. But it was never considered crude or vulgar. Almost every situation was handled with great care by the writers and actors. The show was so progressive, in fact, many of the situations represented are still relevant today. But it wasn't all seriousness. In fact, the show continues to be one of the few sitcoms that gets genuine laughs out of me whenever I'm watching it alone. It was groundbreaking in giving older women visibility in Hollywood and culture, and showed there's no age limit to being funny or relevant. If you haven't seen The Golden Girls, it's likely you can still catch the show in syndication on television, and as of February 13th of 2017, all 180 episodes will be available to stream on Hulu. When the show went off the air, White starred in the short-lived spin-off Golden Palace and made numerous appearances in other shows throughout the years, including Boston Legal and The Bold and the Beautiful. Her appearance in the 2009 Sandra Bullock, Ryan Reynolds romantic comedy The Proposal was one of only a few times she was in a movie, surprisingly. And after that, it was as if we couldn't get enough of Betty White again. Betty White is not only known for being television's sweetheart, she's also known in the animal community as a volunteer and advocate. She's been in a number of telethons for animal rights, served on the board of directors of the Morris Animal Foundation, and volunteers her time at the Los Angeles Zoo. And she tries to visit a local zoo whenever she travels. She even turned down a role in the movie As Good as It Gets because of a scene in which Jack Nicholson drops his neighbor's dog down a laundry chute. She has said she was afraid people would see that scene and recreate it, without the comedic effects the movie shows. Of all the fan mail she receives, she has said she makes it a point to personally write back to fans who are grieving over the loss of a pet or a spouse. Okay, and you thought you couldn't love her anymore, right? When a Snickers commercial came out during Super Bowl 44 in 2010, Betty White had shed her saccharine image critics shamelessly bashed early in her career.
Mike, what is your deal, man?
Oh, come on, man. You've been riding me all day.
Mike, you're playing like Betty White out there.
That's not what your girlfriend said.
Baby! Eat a Snickers.
It was her appearance in that commercial that many felt was the relaunch of her career, leading to a Facebook group called Betty White to host SNL, please. When she finally accepted executive producer Lorne Michaels' offer, at 88 she became the oldest person to host Saturday Night Live. She won her 5th Emmy for her performance, and the show was one of the highest rated in months. In 2010, she returned to television in the sitcom Hot in Cleveland. Originally, she was slated to appear in the pilot only, but was later added as a member of the cast. She also began hosting a hidden camera show featuring seniors playing pranks on younger people, called Off Their Rockers, which earned her an Emmy nomination in 2012. She holds the Guinness World Record for title of longest TV career for an entertainer in the female category, and her male counterpart to that award, Bruce Forsyth, and she both started their careers in 1939. She has been lovingly referred to as a national treasure, and in the year it seemed every beloved celebrity was dying, a GoFundMe was set up in the name of keeping Betty White safe from the Grim Reaper toward the end of 2016. By the way, the money raised didn't actually go toward any special protection for White, unless, as the creator wrote on the donation page, Betty White would be okay with a strange Greek standing guard outside her door. Within a day, this GoFundMe reached and surpassed its goal of $2,000. And the money raised actually went toward a community theater in Spartanburg with the intention of helping young actors, quote, carry the mantle of the legends that have left us this year. Information for this episode was sourced from Mental Floss, avclub.com, smithsonianmag.com, Snopes, and more links which can be found in the show notes at thestorybehindpodcast.com. If you enjoyed this 2-part series, I'll be doing more consecutive episodes focused on a single theme. In February, I'll be starting a series focusing on the stories behind historical and pop culture references that can be found in the movie Forrest Gump. And in March, the whole month will be dedicated to finding out the stories behind different superstitions, curses, and luck. Make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you'll never miss an episode. Information on how to subscribe can be found at thestorybehindpodcast.com. Thanks for listening.